We'll just interrupt. All right, it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the Administration Committee meeting for July 18th, 2023 to order. Roll call, please.
Chair Cook,
Present?
Vice Chair Counter,
Present.
Supervisor Long,
Present.
Supervisor Fiedler, Supervisor Burning.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next item, approval of minutes from Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. Are there any changes to the minutes? No? Hearing none, the minutes will stand. Public comment. Do we have anyone here who would like to make a public comment? Anyone who would like to make public comment? Anyone who would like to make a public comment? All right, no public comment. Move on to business items. Item number 1, financial reports for June 2023. Ken.
Yep, the financial report is in your packet. If you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer it. I did hand out one additional page that's on your desk. This is GASB 75 valuation disclosure for OPEB. I forget what the O stands for. The PEB, though, is post-employment benefits. So where it comes in is our health insurance plan that has retirees on it. So we sunset adding new retirees in 2020. So I just wanted to illustrate this OPEB report, that how that policy decision has affected future liabilities for the county. So if you see in the upper right-hand corner, the beginning OPEB liability in 2018 was $6.4 million. And then towards the bottom left, the net OPEB liability at the end of 2022 was $139,000. And so that's a significant difference of future health insurance related liabilities that the county would have for employees that were in between their retirement years. Whenever they retire, they can retire at 50, law enforcement 55, general until they turn to 65. So there was that bracket. Since we're self-insured, we were exposed to those medical claim costs potential. And really, I know it was a change for the employees that they had to get used to, but there were other alternatives out there. And a lot of the employees have really thanked us for the different choices that are available on the marketplace for retirees going out there. It's actually a better deal than really what even our policies could provide them. So I don't think it was detrimental in the long run. It was just a change that they had to get used to. But I just wanted to share how that policy decision has affected the liabilities of the county going forward. Other than that, are there any questions on the financial report? As I look through the report, we're tracking very well on budget for where we should be. Expenses are under budget, revenues are on target, so yeah, Supervisor Counter.
Had two questions. One under debt service funds. You had a big red number. I can try to find exactly where that was. I'm sorry.
All right, debt service. Trying to get the mouse to cooperate so I can see the headings. Yeah. So the debt service, it's comparing, let's see, 12 to 1. So the debt service, we budgeted for the amount of payments we're paying for through the tax levy. But when we sold the bonds for the government center, we had sold them at a surplus. So there's actually $3 million of surplus that was put into the debt service fund. So the payments we're making in 2023 are actually using that surplus plus the tax levy. So the budget only reflected the payments through the tax levy, because I didn't want to levy more than what was necessary. So I only recorded an expense to match the amount that we had. But that's why you're seeing that variance, because the actual payments are higher, but we're really spending fund balance, which was the surplus, the premium that we had received when we sold those bonds.
Okay.
That took me about a minute to remember, sorry.
Then the second question was under the 57410 losses. The number over on the far left was 57410.
5.7,
See if I can find it again.
yeah, we wouldn't have a 57410.
What did I do?
And what was the loss amount?
I was just trying to find out what the losses were. It just said losses.
Okay,
It's under the county treasurer.
oh, yeah. You want to explain that one, Denise? Denise loves this, that I post those losses there. She says they are not hers.
So you're talking about the losses account, right?
Yeah,
The losses. So we use that for a couple different purposes. When an error is made, like an assessment error or something like that, and they have to correct it at the municipal level, they have to cut a check to clear that tax if there's an overpayment or an over assessment or, yeah, essentially an over assessment. And then they charge that back to us and we have to pay that. It goes in our losses account and we add it back to our apportionment the next year. So we get the money back the next year, but it has to go somewhere as a loss when we pay that portion of the county portion of that tax back to the municipality. And it has to go in my budget.
yeah. So,
So that's one reason.
Yeah.
Another one it's used for is what's called an illegal tax. When, sometimes this happens when a parcel, like a tax deed parcel that we take, it does not get marked as exempt. We've had a couple instances where it didn't get marked as exempt, so it really shouldn't have had a tax. And we have to cut a check and clear that tax off the tax roll, but we can charge it back again by resolution the next year. But that year when we pay it out, it goes in that losses column. So we had a couple of larger ones. What's the amount in there right now?
31,000.
Yeah, there was a pretty large one from City of New Richmond. They have a new assessing company, so I don't know if that was it
Imagine
for
that.
sure, but, so there's a couple different things that we use that account for.
They're not
We're not
Denise's
really
fault, though.
losing money.
No.
It's just kind of, it's kind of,
Thanks for the
it sounds like-
explanation.
It has to be recorded somewhere, but portions of it are recouped, not all of it. Our portion isn't recouped on the first part, right? The assessor loss is the county portion. That stays as a loss for us? Or do you recoup that
No,
part?
we recoup it the next year on the apportionment. We put it back on the tax roll the next year. We can
Okay.
recoup that.
All right,
The only thing that we don't get back would be, so tax deed properties, or we have a couple of contaminated properties, so taxes that are 11 years old, we have to write off each year. And those we don't recoup. Or if we sell a tax deed property at a loss, like for less than just that tax amount, then I have to write that tax off. That money we don't recoup. But everything else gets recouped on the.
Thank you for the explanation.
Any other questions from the committee? No? All right, let's move on to the next item then. Consideration of tax deed bids, Town of Star Prairie and Town of Somerset. Christine.
Is on? Good evening. I'm back again. So I added to your packet this afternoon on page 42, you'll see on the far right column the bids that we did open today. We can, starting with the Town of Somerset, Ellen Bray property. Just a little background on it, which is included in the packet on page 36. This has been county-owned since September of 2008. The first Class 3 notice was published in the Hudson Star Observer and was placed on the Wisconsin Surplus online auction site, if you remember. Just last month, we did receive bids. However, the only bid that was presented to us from the online auction was the highest bid, which was rejected by the admin committee. So I did post a Class 1, or I did publish a Class 1 notice for publication to receive sealed bids at our office until last night at 4 p.m. And we did receive on that property 2 bids. The first bid you can see was received, or one of the 2 bids was received from Kelly Peckman and Dan Hoffmeister, who are adjacent property owners, and their bid was $1,000. They did provide the 10% down check. The other bid received was from Russell Strahota, and he did not submit the bid form, and I have a couple different addresses on him. He was the prior highest bidder on the online auction that was rejected last month. His bid was for $155, and he did also send in the check for the $1,550 at 10% down.
This is the triangle parcel.
This is the triangle parcel, yes, sorry.
I was showing you the road right away, but it's the triangle, landlocked triangle one.
Do we want to take these items separately? I'm assuming it would make sense. Okay. Are there any questions about this first item and the bid? Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept the bid from the highest bidder. I'm sorry, I can't read it.
Kelly Peckman and Dan.
Dan Hoffmeister. I'm also glad to see that they're an adjacent property owner, which is certainly a lot more logical based on our discussion last time.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Supervisor Counter. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? All right, motion is carried. All right, Christine, the next one, please.
Moving on to the next one. Town of Star Prairie, this property has been county-owned since April of 2019. It was first noticed by Class 3, published by Class 3 notice in October of 2019 for sealed bids, and no bids were received. We again put it on the Wisconsin Surplus online auction website last month, and the highest bidder in that online auction was also rejected by the admin committee, and we posted it again for a Class 1 notice for sealed bids due yesterday by 4 p.m. We did receive 3 bids for this property. First one, Matthew Bombeck of Amber Grove Heights. His bid was $4,400, and he did supply the $440 10% down. Second bid was Andrew Belisle, who is an adjacent property owner. His bid was $400, also supplied the 10% down, $40 check. And the third bid was from Divination Cornell in Cornell, Wisconsin for $3,670. Also, they submitted their check for $367. And this is the road, obviously.
Discussion from the committee. Any questions? Supervisor Long.
Did we get any background information in terms of, I could understand an adjacent property owner, but the other two in terms of why they were interested in this road?
The Cornell, Wisconsin one, no. Matthew Bombeck was actually part of the online auction, and he was the highest bidder at $1,300 for that property that was rejected by the admin committee. In a conversation with him, I believe he is interested in buying some property from an adjacent landowner, but he has not purchased that property yet. I'm not sure, I think it was for maybe 2 acres he was trying to buy. And he was under the impression that if you owned 3 acres in that area, you could build on it. So I'm not sure if he was thinking of combining this road with that 2 acres but otherwise, no, nothing on the bid form specifically as to their intent for the use of the road.
The concern I'd had with the road one is that someone's gonna, potentially, restrict access to the additional neighbors. But that could be done with one neighbor or with a party that doesn't own a property on there. I mean, it could be done either way. I just think that us holding it and making sure that the bidders knew the circumstances around this was a good move. But at this point, I'd probably just recommend taking the highest bidder.
And the adjacent property landowner, I should say, did mention when he dropped off his bid that he maintains that road, and he has for many years.
Any thoughts? Supervisor Cowner.
Just to be clear on this too, after the last meeting and before the close of business for this yesterday, I did make an attempt to call the town chairman for the town of Star Prairie, which this road is in. I left a message. I wasn't able to talk to him in person. I also did make an attempt to call then another supervisor on their town board and talked with Michelle Hermanson. And Michelle talked to me at length and said that she's aware of this situation, what's going on. She said that the town has been in contact with the people that lived on the road. She did state that she knows that the people that live on the road were also given a letter that was sent to them so that they were all aware of this. Yesterday being at the close of business being the last day for any bids on it, and said that that's as far as what the town was doing. It was just ensuring the same thing to make sure that they were aware. So I think we did a lot of due diligence in trying to make sure that everybody was notified and knows what the situation is, and it was at their call on what the bids were.
I think the town has been approached a few times about their interest in this road as well before we got to this point, and they didn't have any interest in it.
Part of that is that the people that lived on that road, I'll go back because I was the town chairman at the time, they came to the township and requested to turn this road into the town and have the town take it over, and the town said, well, we'll do that, but you first have to bring it up to town standards. And they paid for the engineering at the township, paid for the engineering to price everything out and get this thing ready as a viable project. And then in turn, they all became disgruntled and decided they aren't interested in doing it. So the town is just kind of washed then because they weren't going to follow through with building it to standards before they took it over.
Anyone have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the highest bidder on this particular piece of property.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Supervisor Burning, second by Supervisor Long. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item, resolution establishing library levy for 2024 budget. And since this is the first year that it's kind of a change since compared when the Hudson Joint Library impacted the formula, maybe, I think Chuck, you're taking this, but if Chuck or Ken or someone can give a little background on what the difference is, that would be great.
After reviewing it, it's up about 10% from last year, and it's got to do with the joint library and also inflation. With those two items, it saw a spike. Go ahead.
Yeah, the 10% Chuck's talking about is if you add up the operating expenses for all the libraries, they're up 10% over what they were last year. So part of the increase can't be, it's not all attributed to the Hudson library change. Part of it is attributed just to inflationary costs for the libraries. So when you see that increase, just know that there's two reasons that are causing the increase.
Supervisor Long.
Yeah, the Hudson number has increased dramatically, though. I think we need some explanation of that. I think last year I checked and it was like $30,000, $40,000. And now it's 500. So that's pretty big impact. And the overall, library levy was like 1.1 last year. And so this is pretty significant. And I think we need a good explanation of why that happened or how that happened.
I'll take part of the history part.
I can help explain if we need to.
All right. So we went from a joint library to a standalone library in Hudson. And so we analyzed everything as everyone as a standalone library for 2024 funding. The Hudson Joint Library last year was funded by municipal contributions from the City of Hudson, the Village of North Hudson, the Town of St. Joseph, and the Town of Hudson. And then $71,000 from St. Croix County for rural circulation, for circulation outside of those four municipalities. So next year, the funding formula is the City of Hudson will fund it and the county will fund it. Those other three municipalities will not make direct contributions to the Hudson Library. So whatever circulation numbers they had last year is how we used the formula, we pay for as the county to fund the library. So the amount of material checked out from the Village of North Hudson, the Town of St. Joseph's, and the Town of Hudson calculate up then to the $500,000 that you see here. Now, the library levy, while it's up by, $500,000, the rate is actually down. And the reason the rate is down is because those three municipalities then that are no longer directly supporting become part of the rural circulation. So the dollar amount goes up, but the rate actually comes down. So the taxpayers of the county will actually see a decrease in total cost for rural library support because the rate is lower. And the three municipalities that were in before see a different funding mechanism. Instead of it being on the township levy side, it's going to be on the county levy side. So they'll see an increase on their county side and probably a decrease on their town side. Anything to add to that, Paul? Okay.
So was that probably a decrease on the town side? Do we?
Probably a decrease because we don't control the town's levy. The town controls their levy. So I can't guarantee for you what the townships are doing.
Yeah.
I can only tell you what the county is going to do. So the county is going to levy 1.6 million, actually 1.75 when you add in the out of county. But
And it looks like we this does include the hotspot funding.
It does include the hotspots. I think hotspots are double dipping because every time you check out a hotspot, it's a circulation number. So they're getting paid twice for that hotspot every time it's checked out to a rural resident. But that's an argument I've been losing for years on.
I was
so.
going to say, it saved a conversation, an amendment that I was going to make, so. All right,
You guys can do
any,
whatever you want with hotspots.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 library levy.
all right, motion by Supervisor Burning, is there a second? Second by Supervisor Fiedler. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And then our fourth business item, resolution amending personnel policies introductory period. Audrey.
There's just some minor changes to this one. We were, just happened to be looking at the policy and realized that it stated that department heads were exempt from serving introductory periods, which is not our standard practice. We do make them serve introductory periods and follow all the same rules. And I don't know if it was a past practice that was changed at some point, but I thought we should probably amend the policy to actually go with our current practices. So, and then the rest was, we don't really define what regular is. We don't have like an introductory status and a regular status employee. There's no difference between, you know, as far as separation from employment or any special rules that they would fall under besides really being eligible for the PTO payout towards the end. And really the introductory period is about receiving extra training during that time frame. So that's about it.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution amending personnel policies.
Motion by Supervisor Burning. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Long. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Requests for future agenda items.
Oh, that's easy.
I don't see any. Announcements and correspondence.
I do just want to say one thing.
Yep, Supervisor Burning.
Vice Chair Counter, thank you for your comment on the issue regarding the tax deed liens.
All right. All right, date of our next meeting, August 15th. We are adjourned at 5:27. Thanks, everybody.